In this video, I'm going to go over what's new in the CSM 6.3.13 release. CSM 6.3.13 GA'd in December of 2024. This is a high-level view. We got 6 main items we're going to talk about today, and I hope you enjoy the new features. All right, the first one I want to talk about is a rename of the how we label our storage systems. So Spectrum Virtualize based systems, all SAN volume controller, FlashSystems, based on SAN volume controller software. Those were previously labeled as Spectrum Virtualize. Whenever you looked at the storage system or the volumes in CSM, they've rebranded now to call it Storage Virtualize. And so 6.3.13 now does that rebrand and automatically will rename across the board for you. So when you look in the Storage Systems panel, you look at the volumes, you'll now see Storage Virtualize instead. Now, if you look at the Storage Systems panel, the type column is still going to tell you the specific type of your hardware. So, for example, the FlashSystems 7200, it'll say that there based off the model number. But when we label things, we label it all kind of the same because we handle it internally all the same, and so you'll see Storage Virtualize. And so just want to make this, that some of your scripts, if you're using Spectrum Virtualize, you might need to change those to Storage Virtualize now. All right, the next one I want to talk about is an idea that came from customers. So as you know, CSM can do email and SNMP based alerts. So SNMP typically isn't an issue because the events get sent to an SNMP listener, and then SNMP listener can usually filter those events or process those events and do automated stuff, so that you're not getting having to deal with them individually. Email, on the other hand, those are setups to go straight to, say, your storage admin or other people that have access to CSM. And so when you have certain events like a planned failover to the remote site, that may cause a ton of different events, state changes, suspend to the restarting, state changes, prepared. And so you'll get a flood of these email events. So what we got this request for was to be able to disable that on the email side. So if you now go to the settings, alert notification, and email tab, you'll see that's where you can set up your email server and the email recipients. Well, at the very top now, there is an email notifications label under the alert notification, and that will have an enable and disable button. So it's enabled by default if you set that up, but if you click that disable link, all email notification will be disabled. You won't get any email events. In addition, we will display a change in the icon there. You'll see the little icon with the little bell crossed out. That with the little warning symbol, those all tell you that email notifications are disabled in case you want to take a look. But just click on the enable, things get enabled again once you're done with your planned event. Okay, the next one is another idea that came from a customer. So CSM by default, when you install, we put on self-signed certificates. Well, a lot of environments require more security, tighter security, and they do require third-party certs. So you may go to the third-party certificate supplier, they give you the certificate, and from the Advanced Tools panel in CSM, you can actually apply that to our CSM GUI. The issue, though, is now customers have to kind of manage that and know when to do the recertify. Say they only get the certificate for a year. It expires after a year. They have to make sure they remember, oh, I need a new certificate. I need to go apply it to the product. So what we did in this idea was we added notifications. So on a daily basis, the server itself will go check the certificates, and it will see that if a certificate is going to expire within 30 days, it's going to put out a message to the console as well as send an alert, so an SMP kind of alert. Now, the message to the console can be used, if you aren't aware, we do support our syslog, so you can send those messages to a remote syslog server and process it that way and kick off some automation that might go and request a certificate, all that stuff, and apply it. That's every day you'll get that notification. You'll see it in the console until either the certificate finally expires, or in which case you won't be able to log in. You'll have to apply the certificate again, or you replace the certificate with a new value. So you'll see a couple examples there in the pictures. All right, the next idea came along due to a change we made in 6.3.12. So in 6.3.12, we had a request from users to add for our basic users. So LDAP users are always managed, all the rules are managed by the LDAP server itself, right? How long passwords are, expiration, all that is managed by the LDAP server. But CSM does support basic users, and so the request was for our basic users, we need to have some rules as well. So in 6.3.12, we added the expiration, minimum length, mixed case, numbers, symbols, etc. Well, customers loaded that and they said, well, I have an automation user and I really don't want it to apply to this because it's going to break my automation. I'll be running along. If I have a 3-month expiration on my passwords, my automation is going to break and I have to remember to go change it, blah, blah, blah. So because automation users are really intended to have some minimal access, you can disable their access to the GUI and even CLI, and intended to provide that automation, that continuous automation against CSM, we've made it in 6.3.13 so that the automation users do not abide by that expiration time. So no matter what you set for expiration, an automation, any user that has the role of an automation user will not expire. What if you did want the expiration and you had automation now? One option would be to use an operator. So the operator role has become quite powerful now in terms of what a user admin or an admin can define. You can actually specify that they only can do certain actions. So you can set up an operator, have it still do the expiration, but only limit his abilities through there. All right, so the next one is having to do with DS8000 G10 systems. So if you aren't aware already, the DS8000 G10 system, if you have copy services, if you purchase the copy services feature code on it, CSM is automatically entitled. So yes, CSM is preloaded on the HMCs. You can use it there, but you're entitled to use it regardless, right? So as long as you're managing G10 volumes for replication, you no longer need to purchase a separate CSM license and then audit on the source terabytes replicated. And so before that, for R9 R8s, you did have to do it. You still do have to do it for R9 R8s, but we added some information in our health overview panel that gives you accounts. Counts of the number of source volumes, number of flash copy or snapshots, number of safeguarded copy volumes, etc. But we also gave you a total number of source terabytes replicated. Well, because of this G10, and the reason for that is so you could take a look at that and then audit yourself to make sure that you're under your actually licensed source terabytes. Well, because of the G10 entitlement, our 6.3.13 release will now not include G10 volumes in that total source terabytes replicated. So that last line on health overview that says was reworded a little bit, but now it says total licensable source data replicated non-G10. That's telling you all of your R9, R8, or flash systems, anything that's not a G10 volume will be added to that count of terabytes, and so that's what you would need external CSM licensing on. All G10, you don't need to. So if you have an entire G10 environment, great, we love it, but you don't even need extra CSM licensing. It's all built in. Hoping that makes it a lot easier for customers, but this also helps you audit it a little bit better too. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is tied to FlashSystems. It's the last feature of the release, and probably our biggest one. The FlashSystems in the third quarter of 2024, just last quarter, created a solution for adding high availability to their asynchronous policy-based replication. So CSM already supported asynchronous policy-based replication on FlashSystems. If a volume group had that policy, CSM would see that and automatically create a CSM session. So you didn't even have to go and create a CSM session. We automatically created it, and then from there we'd monitor and manage it for you. You could do any failovers and other actions such as the recovery test capabilities. All that you could do through CSM. We automatically build that. Well, with the new solution, it comes in multiple parts. So they implemented a replication based off what they call partitions. So you can create multiple partitions within a flash system, set of flash systems, and those partitions can be set up to do your policies for high availability as well as asynchronous replication. So you put a volume group in a the partitions, upper and lower partitions, with a policy, and you're off and running in either straight just async or asynchronous with high availability. CSM and 6.3.13 will automatically create these sessions as well. So these are all tied to the same session type in an asynchronous policy-based replication. It's just that session type, when it's built, is going to tell you the different details. So there's really 3 flavors of your asynchronous policy-based replication. There's the non-partition-based asynchronous replication. There's a partition, basically 2 storage system-based asynchronous replication. And then there's a 3 storage system-based asynchronous replication with high availability at the upper partition. We recognize all that, and you'll see now in the session details panel a lot more information. You'll see which, in the case of a partition with high availability, you'll see the upper partition's H1 management system, the secondary system. You'll see that the partition names. You'll see the status of high availability. So that's whether it's enabled or there's a problem. The status of the high availability can also be seen from the session overview panel under a hyperswap column. So I know they went away from the hyperswap terminology, but we already had the hyperswap column, and so that's our column that you can see from across the DS8000 and the FlashSystems board. You'll be able to see whether a particular volume group or session is highly available, or whether there's an issue with it. So you'll see problem, and if the status changes to something like problem, we show that in the session by going severe. You may be replicating, but you're severe because your high availability that you expected to be there isn't there. So we alert you, we give you all those information similar to our other session types. You also see the H2 system as well as the H2 partition, which is your lower partition. And we build it all for you there. So from that one session type, you can manage any of those 3 different flavors. It will automatically build for you. And from there, you can do your failovers or your recovery tests, restarts, all that stuff. And CSM will recognize changes from the storage system as well. But so, yep, you can include this now, CSM. You can build off any snapshots or safeguard snapshots from it, and using our enhanced scheduler. So all that within CSM, and you can manage your entire environment. All right, with that said, I end all these with telling you, please open those ideas. I'm looking at them constantly. Wish I could get to them all the time. You guys have great ideas, but please open them. Don't think that just because you submit an idea and hasn't been implemented yet that we're not looking at them. Let others vote for those ideas, and let us prioritize based off those votes. So yes, continue on. You see that this release, I think I had 3 different ideas. So we do implement them. We do look at them. With that, thank you. Thanks for watching this video, and hope you like the new release.